Hello everybody, thank you for joining me today for another Twilight Zone video in my Twilight Zone ranking series, where I rank every episode of the original Twilight Zone from my least favorite to my favorite. Today I'm going to be talking about number 94, The Obsolete Man, written by Rod Serling and directed by Elliot Silverstein. This is a season 2 episode, and as always there will be spoilers. And I think this ranking of The Obsolete Man is going to be a bit controversial because a lot of fans consider The Obsolete Man to be a top 10 episode. I know some even consider it to be the number 1 episode of The Twilight Zone. Unfortunately, I'm not one of those people. And while I think The Obsolete Man is a good episode, I think it is also a little bit overrated. Now, to be fair, in my original review of this episode, I went back to it. I was too harsh. The episode is better than I gave it credit for, and it is a quality episode of The Twilight Zone. But I do still stand by the fact that I think there are a few flaws that bring it down just a little bit. So this one's about a future society where a librarian named Wordsworth is considered obsolete, outdated, however you want to look at it. Now, some of the good things here. Burgess Meredith as Wordsworth and Fritz Weaver as the Chancellor, representative of the state, are great. They're memorable Twilight Zone performances for sure. Also, the cinematography and production design are among the best the show ever did. So on a technical level, this is an excellent episode, definitely of being worthy, near the top of the list. So this episode starts right at Wordsworth's trial, which is great. We jump right into it. And he's basically considered obsolete because he's a librarian and there's no more need for books, according to the state. He also has a religious faith, and the state doesn't really like that either. So, of course, he's found guilty, but he's allowed to pick a method of execution, which I found a little bit strange and kind of a plot convenience, but I guess you just got to kind of go with it. So Wordsworth sets it up where it'll be a public execution, and he gets to choose who's going to be doing the killing. So the Chancellor's kind of curious, so he kind of reluctantly agrees. So the time comes for the execution, and Wordsworth has the Chancellor come over his place. Wordsworth reveals that a bomb will go off at midnight, but also that the door is locked, so the Chancellor will die as well in the explosion. So at this point we know Wordsworth's plan, and he starts reading biblical texts showing his religious faith and his overall strength in his beliefs. Now, for me, I get the point here, but Wordsworth comes across as being a little bit too perfect, a little bit too much of a martyr-like character for my liking. I get that Wordsworth is supposed to be all good and the state is supposed to be all bad. And, it's kind of interesting, but I think in the context of the episode, this is overdone just a little bit. It feels hammered home just a bit much for my liking, but others might find it to their satisfaction. So eventually the Chancellor begs to get out, and after Wordsworth basically has the Chancellor break down, here's what he wants to hear, he does let the Chancellor out. So the bomb goes off and Wordsworth is a goner, but the state is upset with the Chancellor because he kind of made him look bad. So he's declared obsolete, and this is where the episode kind of loses me again. They start chanting as he tries to escape, and they literally drag him like across the table in the room. To me, this is way overdone and didn't really work for me. Again, I get the point, but I don't think it need to be hammered home this much. It just feels a little too stagey for me. But again, I know others will find this to be very powerful and it will really work for them. So I love the message in this episode. I just don't necessarily love totally the way it's presented. I still think Obsolete Man is a thought-provoking episode that is worth your time. It's definitely worth watching. It's a little bit too in your face for me, but I know others love it. Like I said, I was too hard on it originally, and this was a very tough episode to rate because there are a lot of good things about it. So for me, The Obsolete Man ultimately is a good but flawed episode, and that's why I rank it at number 94 on the list. Please feel free to leave me some comments on what you think about The Obsolete Man. If you really like it a lot, I have a feeling I'm going to get some pushback on this one, but that's totally okay. So as always, thanks for your support and thanks for watching.